Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. This is the SLWG Author Series for February. We are here tonight with illustrator Jennifer Stolzer. We'll get to that in a second, but I just wanted to, real quick, give a quick thank and a shout out to STLBooks, who is hosting us tonight. If you have not stopped by STLBooks in Kirkwood, do check it out. We're super thrilled to be here and totally excited. We'll be coming, as we always do, to you guys on the third Thursday of every month. So do look for that. But tonight we are here with Jennifer Stolzer, who is an illustrator and writer. She has illustrated such books as Joe the Crab series and the How Tough He Got His Bark, which you'll see displayed behind her there. She has done numerous covers for other books as well. We'll be talking a little bit about that later. And for those of you who don't know, she did the cover for the Scribe 2013, or the summer 2013 issue, Writing Kids Lit. And in there, she's got an article on being an illustrator. I would highly recommend checking that out. You can find that on the STL Writers Guild website. I'll get to all that in a minute as we talk more. But without further ado, Jennifer Stolzer, thank you for joining us tonight. We're so thrilled to have you.
No, thanks for asking me.
So this is our first one here at STL Books. So we're kind of thrilled to have that. So hey, you're our inaugural person here. We're excited.
It's an honor.
It is. So, to start off, obviously you begin with a consultation with the author, I'm assuming. So how does that process work, and what can a writer expect when working with an illustrator such as yourself?
Well, I'm a freelance illustrator, so we get the benefit of meeting one-on-one and talking and working through things. My favorite way to start a project is to get coffee or lunch or whatever and hang out for a couple hours and talk about the project and talk about, what other projects do you like, what art style you're going for. I'll probably bring my laptop along, show some of the stuff I've done. We nail down an art style and probably do some roughs, rough out the character specifically, and make sure that we're on page for how many illustrations we're going to need for this book. And after that, we part company for a while. I write up a contract, I send them a contract, they sign a contract, we meet up again, and then we have a storyboarding session where we rough out every single page, make sure that they look the way that the author wants them to look. Well, generally, we can either do that in person or I can send it to them through email. And when that's approved, we move on to line work, and depending on what level of editing involvement they want, we either get more edits, more feedback stages, or I take it all the way to the end, and they get a chance to look it over and say, yes, good, or no, make that bigger, make that a different color. And since I'm working mostly with self-published or indie publishers, either I'm involved in the packaging and the preparing, making it look alright for whatever service they're using to publish it, or I hand it off to a great place like Rocking Horse, who does it for me. So,
excellent. So then there is a real back and forth between you and the author?
Yes, I like working with authors. That's why I like children's books the best, because typically the author has had this inside them for a long time. They've always wanted to do a children's book, or they've always wanted to use this character or tell this story. And it's really rewarding to be able to take that vision and that dream and then make it real. So it's a lot of fun to use what the author comes with and then go ahead and flow through to the next step.
And how do you exactly go about that, trying to capture the artist's vision? Is it through conversation? Is it just literally like getting a sense and feel of them? Do you read through the work first?
I do want to read the draft first. I don't want anyone to come... I mean, we can have a consultation if you want to, but I don't want anyone to start buying illustrations from me until they're done with their draft.
Very smart.
Because we have to know how many pages it's going to take and what happens on each page. Because every page is going to have that moment in it that is the one that needs to be the illustration. Okay. If 3 things happen on the page, well, we might either need to break these things up into different pages or narrow it down or pick which one we want, and if that changes halfway through, then we've got an illustration that doesn't fit anymore. So.
Okay. Well, that's exciting, to kind of working back and forth. Do you find that your vision and your artistic nature ever conflicts with your authors?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I have, a great idea for what I think exactly it should look like, and it's often not what the author actually wants. But I do my best to state my case.
Okay.
And if they agree with my ideas, then I'm more than happy to go ahead with my plan. But more often than not, they stick to their guns, and I get to change the illustration. That's why we have editing sessions, That's why you have an opportunity to give feedback before I take it all the way in. So you don't end up with a finished product that I've worked really hard and really long on that you then don't like and I have to fix. So it's
that would not be good.
Yeah, editing is really important, and being honest is really important. So, authors, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you don't like this picture, because it's your picture that I'm drawing for you, and this is your chance to make that change. If you really think that the dog needs to wear a green collar instead of a blue collar, then tell me now so I can change it, and I'm not going to be angry about that. I'll be happy to make it right without having to go back in when it's already a PDF and ready to go to Amazon, and then having to take it apart and change the color of this one collar in this one picture. Oh darn. If only we'd done it earlier,
Okay. Well, that's important then to know to pick up those things early. So if you are an author out there, speak up early and speak up often, apparently. So then, a lot of this sounds like you're doing a lot of editing, a lot of drafts. This sounds like a lot of writing. So how similar is illustrating to your writing?
Well, it's storytelling. I mean, both using pictures and using words are storytelling. And you got to think about the most concise way you can get the message of that image across. You want to be able to tell whatever's happening on that page at one go, so that it doesn't mislead or conflict as you read through, and you have to keep the pacing up, and you kind of have to be a bit of a director. You have to think about, well, what does this page look like compared to the image that preceded it and followed it? So it's telling a visual story at the same time as you're telling a written story.
Okay. Do you find it all difficult to maintain that consistency through an entire book? Does Joe the Crab look the same on page 1 that Joe looks on the same as last page?
Joe, I wish I had Joe here with me. Buying Joe's design, he looks like a football with arms and legs. So Joe the Crab did tend, he had the tendency to, if he was sitting in the same spot, 2 images in a row, to get distracting that he's the exact same. So we make sure to take a closer, move the camera, the fake camera, have a close-up of Joe, or make sure that he's smaller in this shot than he was in the last one, or that he's located at a different part of the scene, or something to make it visually different than the previous page, so it keeps you engaged. Otherwise, you feel like you've seen the picture already.
Okay, well that's good to know. So Tuffy is a dog, Joe is a crab.
Yeah.
Is that just the way children's literature tends to go, or do you like drawing animals? And for those of you who don't know, quick shout out: she has dog mugs that you can find on Zazzle.com under Jennifer Stolzer. And if you just Google it, they'll pop up. So do check out those mugs, but back to dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats.
And crabs.
The fact is that little kids like animals. So, and children's book authors tend to also like animals. Animals can be any age, and they can be attractive to boys and girls, and everyone loves a cuddly dog or a cuddly kitten. I have kittens.
Yeah, so you have a cuddly spider up there, too.
I have a cuddly spider. They can be all kinds of animals. I very much enjoy drawing people, though, and that's my favorite, is the human character.
Okay.
For little kids, humans, you tend to have to draw really, young children, or this is an illustration from a book I'm working on right now, by a local author named Mary Elliott, called What Kittens Like.
Okay.
So the plot is about the kittens and what they like, but her daughter makes a cameo.
Okay.
So I get to draw a human, and that was really exciting. But the exciting part about drawing any character is being able to put a little life in them, to bring them to life with their faces and with their eyes and with whatever emotion or whatever's engaging them. And I can do that with an animal as easily as I can do with a human, as long as they don't look like Patrick.
So to that end, when you first show an author, is this, are you always amazed by their reaction when they see their hard work, their words put to your art?
Well, I really like being able to give the author what they were dreaming of. It makes me feel very fulfilled when I know that this thing they've worked really hard on, that they're happy with it. So I work hard to make sure that they do, that I'm going to get a positive result. I don't want to have a full book and give it to them and they go, oh, thanks, and then they go hire someone else to re-illustrate it. So what was the original question? Was that
whether or not the authors, whether you enjoy seeing their words put to your art and how their experience.
Well, since it starts with their words, it's the story lives and breathes on its own, and it's nice for me to put a nice bow on the top of it.
Well, let me switch up here and ask about. So you do covers for books as well, for other novels as well. So that obviously is just the cover image. It's just one image as opposed to an entire book and an entire series of images. Do you find there's a lot of difference between doing the two? The one image that's supposed to capture an entire book versus having an entire series of art to fall back on?
Well, book covers, especially for independent authors, they've been dreaming of their book cover. And often, people who want me to put book covers together come with their own photos or their own clip art or a very vivid image of what they want to see. And it takes a bit of the creativity out of it, because mostly I feel like I'm building Lego blocks, that I take what they've given me and then I make it look good. I move text around, I change colors, I adjust it however I need to in Photoshop to make it look good when it's printed. But it's it's good. It's nice to make book covers because authors are really excited to see this cover that they've imagined be real. And I enjoy doing that. It's not my first love, but I'm not going to say no.
Okay. Do you find it hard to meet that expectation, or do you find that when you hand over, that's exactly what they were looking for?
Sometimes it's hard.
Okay.
It's not, often because authors don't have the visual language that they're using. So when I say I want, let's think of a good example. I use, a Photoshop term. I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to apply this filter. They don't know what that means. They know that they want it to kind of speckly. And I say, okay, speckly can either mean I need to like apply something to make it kind of see-through. Do they want it partially transparent? I'm not sure. So usually, I put together a couple options, take a little screen cap. If we're doing it through email, then I can send multiple versions, which is really helpful. To say, is it better 1, better 2, or better 3?
Okay.
And sometimes it's better none. And I have to do a fourth one. But at least those 3 things are off the table now.
Yeah, and you have something to talk about. You have a basis to talk about.
Exactly. It's easier to talk about something you're seeing than it is to try and understand what someone else is seeing behind their eyes.
Okay. So then let me ask this. There might be an illustrator who's out there, watching this. So do you have any advice for an illustrator who wants to become a freelancer,
Oh, freelance is hard. And it takes a long time before you can do it just freelancing.
Okay.
So don't be discouraged when it starts slow. It's important to put yourself in the communities that you want to serve. Like, I've had a lot of success being a member of the Writers Guild and a member of the St. Louis Publishers Association, because those are people that I want to work for, but also I'm a writer, so there are people that I'm also learning from. And I make friends and I make connections, and before you know it, friends of those friends start calling you for work.
Okay.
And I know you have to pay for your own advertising. You got to make sure that you put yourself out there, because no one's going to find you unless you have a place to go for them to look.
Yes.
So,
and to that end, if you would like to find Jennifer Stolzer, check her out at jenniferstolzer.com. And I'm also going to quickly plug her Tumblr page, because I follow her there, and she posts a ton of her own artwork there. So if you want to see it, take a look. Do check it out. You'll find her just by a simple Google. But, okay, to that end, you are an artist in an entirely new age, the digital age. Do you find this better, exciting? Are you excited to be an artist in the digital age?
Digital art is 10,000% better than making traditional art.
Okay.
And it's not because it takes any more or less skill, it's because it's easier to give it to someone.
Okay.
I can, if I were going to draw a picture for an author, they wanted this cover done, and I hand draw this beautiful picture of, a horse or something that I spent a lot of time on, and I take a couple tries at, and they want him to be bigger on the frame. I have no choice but to redraw the horse so that it's bigger. Or, in the digital world, I can open the Photoshop file, lasso the horse, and make it larger, and I'm done.
Yes.
So, for any other, for no other reason than editing purposes, digital A+. But also, just the fact that I can do it anywhere. I have a pen tablet, so I can whip it out, and I'm working in crayons, I'm working in oil pastels, I'm working in watercolor, and it's clean, it's easy, and it's mobile. I just throw it in a bag, and I'm working in a coffee shop, and I'm house sitting somewhere, I'm working there. I'm stuck at home, I'm working there. It's 2 a.m., I'm working then. It gives me a lot of freedom, so It's nice.
So you enjoy the digital age. I don't blame you one bit, and those are all wonderful reasons, too. So to that end, we often ask our writers what they prefer more, the first line and the last line. That doesn't exactly come here, so I'm going to ask you, what is your least favorite part of doing all the illustrations? Is it that final line work, or is that the best part? Is it these weird layers you have to throw on everything?
Drawing is the best part. Characters are the best part. Backgrounds are awful.
Backgrounds are awful.
Backgrounds are soulless most of the time, and they take a lot of time that you would rather spend working on characters. Since I enjoy putting emotion and life into things that, that have none, into lines on paper, then drawing the furniture they're sitting on seems a little bit... it's not quite as a shiny, as a shiny diamond as drawing the person or the animal.
Okay.
So, backgrounds, cars are awful.
Cars are awful?
Straight lines are hard.
Okay. Well, 3D is horrible for me, so just that alone, I'm in awe of if you can make something look real. So, excellent. I'm going to quickly throw it out here. If anyone else has a question, we do have some questions online. I'll get to those in just a second, but if anyone in here has a question you'd like to ask?
How did you first get started in illustration? Like did you go to school or what?
I actually graduated with an animation degree from Webster University, and I didn't get out of St. Louis, so it didn't do me a lot of good. But if anything, it taught me it taught me the in-betweens. When you animate, you make keyframes, which are all the extreme shots, and then you in-between to move between them. And I think that experience taught me a lot about breaking character molds and thinking about putting motion in things, which is translated to illustration. Because I entered animation, I wanted to make things come to life. I wanted to tell stories for kids. I wanted to use my artistic skill that I'd grown up with. And illustration was a really logical step. If I couldn't go to LA and make the next blockbuster movie, then I was very happy to be making Joe the Crab and Tuffy the dog, and smaller scale things, but they're still rewarding, and it's all me. I'm not working with 3,000 other people, I'm not one name in a wall, and I'm not being micromanaged by my boss. I'm my own boss, and I'm making things for people that they love, so that's what, I hope that answered the question.
Hey, that's exciting. Excellent. Any other questions that we have here? Okay, I have one online. So what is the hardest part about trying to break into the world of book illustration? We talked about that a little bit.
Finding clients is the hardest part.
Finding clients,
Finding clients.
Well, hopefully this will get you a couple more of them.
That would be nice.
And then also, what are some basic problems you see in book cover designs? Common mistakes or...
My problem is I know Photoshop too well.
Okay.
So I hate looking at a book cover and knowing how they did it.
Okay.
It's like, fluffy brush there. I know they erased that part. That's a mask. The edges are gross there. The compositing's bad there. It's because I know too much.
Okay.
That makes book covers. It makes book covers. I play a game. I'm gonna regret saying this. I play a game when I go into like Walmart. I go over to find a book cover I don't hate.
Okay.
It's like, let's find a book cover I don't hate. And usually I find one or two I don't hate.
Okay.
But there are an awful lot I hate. And these are things, and this is Walmart. This isn't just, made by people like me, book covers. This is published by actual, for serious book companies, book covers that I look at and think, oh man, I've seen that 3,000 times, and I know exactly how they made it, and they didn't spend a lot of time on it. It's, it's a shame when you look at something and think I could do that better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hate when there's no depth to a cover. You know, it's just a flat. It's very flat. You don't see anything.
And there's something to look at something and see its obvious inspiration. You know, you can see a book cover and say, oh, obviously they came to this designer and said, I want something like Twilight because it looks like Twilight, or I want something like, you know, the Divergent series. Like, well, it's got the same look to it, so.
Okay. So what trends do you see in book covers? Do you see any trends coming down? Anything you know?
Well, I'm forced to look backwards since I am looking at Walmart. So I don't know what's coming up. I can hope that what's coming up is more of an illustrative bend, less of a clip art look. Because the clip art look is what I'm really tired of. And there's a lot of, I mean, when you're looking at YA, there's all these girl silhouettes, lots of silhouette looks, highly graphical stuff where it's, you know, a bold, solid color, and then they put what looks like scrapbooking elements all over it. Yeah. So those, I've seen a lot of those. A lot of photos of women in ball gowns. Lots of those. Lots of girls not looking at the camera.
Yes, there's a lot of not looking at the camera, especially models turned around, then they don't have to pay for the face.
The head's cut off. That's my least favorite, is all these photos of girls or boys or whomever that's just collarbones down.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, that's done in modeling, so they don't have to pay the model as much, and you can just take pictures and stuff, so yes. Always fun. We do have one more. So what is the most difficult thing for you to draw? If you like drawing people, you like, you're good at animals, you didn't like backgrounds and cars.
I like characters. I don't like, my most difficult thing to draw, I know, everything presents its difficulty. You know, there's different issues that arise in different things. I said cars because there's a lot of precise mathematical line work going on in those. If you park a car catty corner, you better make sure you've got your depth going correctly. So sometimes it takes a lot of work to make buildings and cars and things that go back to my high school arts classes where you have to do the 2-point perspectives and get out a ruler. So it's anything that I can't just doodle. Things that happen in nature rarely have straight lines. So I have a lot of fun drawing. You know, I put lots of things in fields under trees when I'm doodling. Or
that's
plain skies.
Nothing wrong with trees. There's many happy little trees in. Sorry, little Bob Ross throw out there.
That's okay. You can never go wrong with Bob Ross.
Exactly. All right. Excellent. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. You have been great tonight. We truly thank you all for coming and joining us here tonight, and for joining us online, and to STLBooks for hosting us tonight. So for those of you who don't know, this is Jennifer Stolzer. She's writer and illustrator. Find her at jenniferstolzer.com. You can also find her on Facebook. You can find her on Twitter and Tumblr. I highly recommend you do. Check it out. And do check out her issue of The Scribe, or any of her numerous illustrated books that are coming out. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer. And there it is.